My dears, before I begin, let me say this. If you're watching this, please stay with me till the end. What I'm about to tell you, it changed my life forever. And if you've ever loved someone so deeply that you couldn't breathe when they were hurting, then you'll understand why I'm finally sharing this. So don't go anywhere, alright? You need to hear every piece of this. Now come closer. Let me hold my tea with these old hands of mine, because even after all these years, they still shake when I remember that night. The night my daughter walked into my house with a bruise on her face, and a smile on her lips. A smile that still haunts me when I close my eyes. You see, I raised my daughter Lily with gentleness. She was a soft child, the kind that apologized when someone else bumped into her. The kind who saw the world with warm colors, not sharp edges. Maybe that's why I always feared she'd fall into the arms of someone who didn't deserve her kindness. And God help me, that's exactly what happened. Her husband, Ethan, oh, how he fooled us. He had the charm of a man who knew how to win people over. He shook hands firmly, laughed at the right moments, complimented strangers, held doors open. All the things a mother wants for her daughter. But beneath that smile was a shadow. Flicker. A tiny flash in his eyes that felt wrong. And each time I caught it, I told myself, stop imagining things. Stop being an overprotective mother. Let her be happy. I wish I had listened to my instincts instead. The night it happened, I was sitting by the fire, knitting a scarf for my granddaughter. The room was warm, but when the door opened and Lily stepped inside, a coldness swept through the house strong enough to make the flames tremble. She tried to hide her cheek, but mothers, we always see. The red mark was there. A perfect imprint, like fingers carved into her skin. And she held her face like she was holding a broken heart. But what broke me wasn't the bruise. It was her smile. A strange, shaking smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Mom," she whispered, "don't worry. I deserved it." I felt something inside me snap, like a bone you never knew you had until it breaks. I grabbed her shoulders. "Who did this? Tell me right now." She didn't answer. She didn't need to. That handprint already told the truth. But before I could say another word, we heard footsteps outside. Heavy, slow, confident. The kind of steps a man makes when he knows he owns everything in the house, including the people inside it. Lily froze. "Mom," she whispered, "please don't say anything." And then, God help me, she did something that chilled my blood. She clapped her hands. Actually applauded. As if she were welcoming him. My own daughter applauded the man who slapped her. The door opened, and Ethan stepped in with that same shallow smile he always wore. He scanned the room like he was making sure his kingdom was in order. And Lily, my gentle, sweet girl, stood behind him like she was afraid to breathe without his permission. I didn't scream. I didn't shout. There comes a point in a mother's life where her anger becomes quiet, cold, sharp. That's what I felt. But inside I was burning. Burning with something fierce enough to set the whole world on fire if it meant saving my child. Before I continue, let me ask something simple. Just answer in your heart. If someone slapped your child even once, what would you do? Would you stay calm? Walk away? Or would you do what I did? And make a call that changed everything? Because that night, I didn't confront Ethan. Didn't argue. Instead I watched. I watched his smug posture. The way his hand rested casually in his pocket, like nothing he did mattered. And when he left the room for just a moment, maybe to wash his hands or check his phone, I reached for my cell phone with fingers so cold they barely moved. I scrolled to a number I told myself I'd never dial again. A number I had deleted, then memorized again in secret, in case a day like this ever came. When the line clicked and the voice on the other end said hello, I whispered only 7 words. "It's time. My daughter needs your help." There was a pause. A long one. And then the man said, "I'll be there in an hour." That was it. One call. One decision. One spark that lit a fuse I didn't know would explode so violently. I put my phone down just before Ethan returned to the living room. He sat on the couch as if nothing had happened. As if my daughter's face wasn't bruised. As if he hadn't broken something sacred. Lily sat beside him, her hands trembling. She looked at me, then at him and then back at me with this pleading expression. The kind a child gives when they want help but are too scared to ask for it. Oh, the guilt I felt in that moment. Not because I made the call, but because I had waited so long to do it. If only I knew. If only I understood what Lily was hiding behind that smile. If only I realized the bruise wasn't the beginning of the story. It was the middle. And something much darker had started long before. I felt my chest tighten with a fear I hadn't known since the day Lily was born. A fear that told me this isn't over. Not even close. I looked at the clock. 50 minutes until help arrived. 50 minutes until the truth began to unfold. 50 minutes until my entire world changed, in ways I never imagined. But my dear, this was only the beginning. And I promise you what came next shook me to my core. When I think back to that night, I realize how blind I truly was. A mother always believes she knows her child's heart. But sometimes, even the closest hearts hide the deepest wounds. I wish I had understood that sooner. Maybe the story I'm telling you today would have ended differently. But I suppose life doesn't give us rewinds, only memories that sting when we touch them. After I made that call, the house felt different. Like the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting for something to happen. The fire crackled, the clock ticked, but the air was thick with fear. I kept glancing at the door, counting the minutes until my brother would arrive. 47 minutes. Too long. Much too long. Lily sat on the edge of the couch, twisting her fingers so hard I thought she might break them. Ethan reclined comfortably beside her, scrolling through his phone like nothing was wrong, like harming my child was just another small inconvenience in his day. His calmness made my blood boil. I sat across from them, gripping my teacup so tightly it felt like it might shatter. "Lily," I whispered softly, "come sit with me." She looked at Ethan first, as if waiting for permission. And that shattered me into 1,000 pieces. She didn't move until he gave her the slightest nod. My daughter, who once ran barefoot in my garden with sunflowers in her hair, was now waiting for a man's signal to breathe. That sight alone could have killed me. She walked slowly toward me and sat on the armchair beside mine. I leaned closer and touched her cheek gently, trying not to let her see how angry I truly was. "Sweetheart," I whispered, "tell me the truth. Why did he hit you?" She looked down at her hands, tears filling her eyes. She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, Ethan interrupted with a cool, calm voice. "It wasn't a hit," he said. She panicked. "Things got out of hand." I turned to him. "A slap is a slap, Ethan." His jaw tightened for a moment, but then he smiled. A small, smug curl of the lips. "It wasn't like that," he repeated. Lily immediately nodded. "He's right, Mom." I overreacted. My stomach twisted. This wasn't my daughter speaking. This was someone afraid of consequences. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her and run away. But I knew that wouldn't solve anything. So I took a deep breath and steadied my voice. "Lily, you don't have to agree with him." Her eyes filled even more. She opened her mouth to respond, but then the doorbell rang. Not loudly, not frantically, just two slow, heavy rings. The kind that come from someone who isn't asking to enter but expecting to. Lily's entire body stiffened. Ethan sat up straighter. And I felt my heart thump so hard I thought it might break my ribs. I stood up, smoothing my cardigan with trembling hands, and walked to the door. My fingers hovered over the knob for a moment before I finally turned it. There he was. My brother. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark coat that smelled of night air and old secrets. His face was stern, his eyes sharper than they had been in years. And when he looked at me, I knew I had done the right thing, or at least the only thing I could. He stepped inside without a word, his boots heavy on the wooden floor. The moment he entered the living room and saw Lily's cheek, he stopped so suddenly that the air seemed to freeze around him. "What happened to her?" he asked quietly. His voice wasn't loud. Didn't need to be. Ethan stood up. "This is a family matter." My brother looked at him the way a storm looks at a broken tree. "She is my family," he replied. "You are not." Ethan laughed softly, shaking his head. "I don't know who you think you are." "I'm the man you should pray you don't lie to," my brother said. The tension was so thick you could almost taste it. Lily rushed forward, holding up her hands like she was shielding both of them from each other. "Stop. Please," she cried. "This isn't what you think." My brother's eyes softened, just barely, when he looked at her. "Then tell me what it is, Lily." She swallowed hard. Her voice trembled. "Uncle, it wasn't like that. It was my fault. I made him angry. I said things I shouldn't have. I'm clumsy. I broke the dish and he just reacted. I shouldn't have upset him. My heart. It hurt in a place I didn't know could ache. The woman standing before me wasn't my daughter. She was a shadow wearing Lily's face. My brother shook his head slowly. You don't believe that, Lily. She wiped her tears quickly. I do. I do believe it. And then something happened that made my blood turn to ice. Ethan stepped forward and placed his hand gently on Lily's shoulder. She immediately relaxed, like his touch released her from invisible chains. But I saw what he was doing. He was showing us his control. He was telling us without words, she belongs to me. In the middle of all this, let me ask you something, just something simple. Have you ever watched someone you love defend the person hurting them? Did it tear you apart? Because in that moment, I felt helpless like an old woman shouting at thunder. My brother looked at Ethan's hand, then at Lily's face, then back at him. Did you hit her? He asked. Ethan smirked. You hurt her. She says no. That wasn't my question. For the first time since entering my home, Ethan's eyes flickered. Just a tiny crack in his confidence. My brother noticed it immediately. But before he could say anything more, Lily cried out. Stop. Please stop. He didn't hit me. I swear. She grabbed Ethan's arm as if protecting him from us. That moment, oh God, that moment nearly crushed me. I realized something terrifying. She wasn't defending him. She was afraid of something larger than us. Something we didn't know yet. And the truth she spoke next changed everything. Mom, Uncle, it wasn't Ethan, she said softly, her eyes filling again. Someone else did this to me. My breath caught in my throat. Ethan stepped closer to her, resting his hand protectively on her back. And for the first time he looked afraid too. My brother stiffened. Who? Lily's lips trembled. Mom, she whispered. I can't tell you because if I do, all of us will be in danger. And that's when I finally understood. The bruise wasn't the real problem. The real problem was the secret behind it. And that secret was darker than anything Ethan could have done. I remember standing there in the middle of my living room, staring at my daughter as if she were speaking a language I had never heard before. Someone else? Someone other than Ethan? My mind tried to make sense of it, but the pieces wouldn't fit. Lily clutched her hands together, her whole body trembling like she was trying to hold herself from falling apart. I stepped closer to her. Sweetheart, what do you mean someone else did this? Who? She shook her head quickly. Mom, please don't ask me. I can't say it. My brother's jaw tightened. Lily, you're safe here. No one can hurt you. But Lily looked around the room nervously, as if the walls themselves had ears. Her voice dropped to a whisper so faint we almost couldn't hear it. You think that, she said. But you don't understand what he can do. A single word that sliced through the air. My heart sank into my stomach. I exchanged a glance with my brother, and for the first time that night, I saw worry flicker through his eyes. Real honest worry. Ethan stepped closer to Lily, placing his hand on her back gently. You don't have to say anything you're not ready to say, he murmured. It was strange, his voice wasn't sharp or cruel. It was soft, almost protective. And the way Lily leaned toward him, it made me realize something I hadn't considered before. They were scared together. I took a shaky breath. Lily, you can tell me anything. You know that. She closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. Not this, Mom. If I tell you, you'll think I'm lying. Or crazy. Or both. My brother stepped forward. Try us. She hesitated, looking at the floor like she was afraid someone might rise out of the shadows. It started months ago, she whispered. Before the wedding anniversary. Before the arguments. Before everything. She lifted her head, and for the first time that night, I didn't see fear in her eyes. I saw terror. I think someone is following me. My breath froze in my chest. What do you mean following you? I whispered. At night, she said, voice breaking. I hear footsteps outside the house. Someone jiggling the back door. Someone tapping on the window. I thought it was my imagination. Until last week. Her hands shook uncontrollably. Ethan grasped them gently. That night, she continued, I saw him. My brother stiffened. Saw who? She swallowed hard. A man standing outside our bedroom window. I felt my knees go weak. He just stood there, she whispered, watching me sleep. I put a hand over my mouth trying to steady my breathing. Ethan's face had gone pale, paler than I'd ever seen him. You should have told someone, I said, my voice cracking. I did, she replied softly. I told Ethan. I turned to him sharply. And what did you do? He looked ashamed. I told her. I told her she was imagining it. I didn't see anyone when I checked. But a few nights later, he hesitated, rubbing his forehead. I heard him too. My eyes widened. So it was real? Ethan nodded slowly. I think so. We called the police once, but they didn't take it seriously. They said there was no evidence. My brother spoke quietly. And the bruise? What about that? Lily looked at the floor again, her voice dropping. I heard noises outside 2 nights ago. When Ethan went to check, I went to the back door. I thought maybe if I opened it and shouted, the man would run. But when I unlocked the door, someone grabbed me. The room spun. He grabbed me by the arm, she whispered. I screamed. Ethan came running, and the man pushed me to the ground. My cheek hit the edge of the porch step. My heart nearly stopped in my chest. So it wasn't a slap, I said softly. She shook her head. No, Mom. I lied because I didn't want anyone to think Ethan was weak. He tried to chase the man, but he was too fast. And I didn't want people blaming him. He already blames himself. I stared at Ethan. For the first time tonight, I didn't see a monster. I saw a man terrified he had failed the one person he cared about most. My brother exhaled slowly. Why didn't you tell us this earlier? Lily wiped her tears. Because I didn't want to drag anyone else into it. And because I don't know who the man is. I only saw the outline of him. Tall. Broad. Dark jacket. That's all. My brother's eyes narrowed. Did he say anything? Anything at all? Lily hesitated. Her breath came out shaky. One thing. The silence in the room became unbearable. What did he say? I whispered. She closed her eyes. He said, tell your mother I'm back. The room fell into a darkness that felt alive. My heart stopped. My hands turned cold. My breath caught in my throat. My mother. I echoed softly. Me. Lily nodded slowly. Yes. He said your name. I stumbled back a step. My knees pressed against the edge of the chair. My brother's eyes hardened instantly. His voice dropped into a tone I had not heard in many, many years. What exactly did he say, Lily? Repeat it. She swallowed. He said, tell your mother she can't hide forever. My vision blurred. For a moment I couldn't breathe. I felt the room closing in around me, every sound muffled, every shadow suddenly too dark. My brother stepped toward me. You know who it is. I shook my head weakly. No, it can't be, he's gone. He's been gone for decades. But my brother didn't look convinced. He looked at the floor, then at Lily, then at the front door, as if expecting it to burst open. Tell me, he said. Did the man have any distinguishing features? Anything at all? Lily hesitated, thinking hard. Yes, she whispered finally. His voice. I leaned forward. What about it? It sounded like someone who knows you, Lily said quietly. Someone who hates you. My heart felt like it had fallen through the floor. My hand shook so badly I had to grip the chair to stay steady. My brother placed his hand on my shoulder and looked into my eyes, his voice grave. Sis, who did you think you escaped from all those years ago? I felt my throat close. And for the first time in my life, I regretted surviving my past. My child, sit with me for a moment. Because this part of my story, this is where everything truly changed. That night, I remember every sound, every shadow, every breath. As if the walls of my house were whispering back the truth I spent years ignoring. The clock on the wall kept ticking. Ticking. Each sound stabbing deeper into my chest. I stood alone in the kitchen, the dim light flickering over my trembling hands. I had spent years pretending that my family was fine, pretending that I was strong, pretending that the pain didn't hurt. But lies cannot hold forever. Even grandmas break. I leaned on the wooden table, the same table where I once fed my children, The same table where I waited endless nights for my husband to come home. The same table where I learned to swallow my tears with a quiet smile. But that night, that table felt like the only thing keeping me from falling apart. I heard a door slam somewhere down the hall. A shadow moved. Footsteps, slow, cold, familiar. My heart tightened. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But I just froze, staring at the cracked tile beneath my feet. For years I had carried a truth inside me. A truth too heavy for my old bones. A truth I thought I could bury. But secrets have a cruel way of clawing their way back into the light. My hands shook as I placed them over my heart. It felt bruised, tired, abandoned. You see, my child, people think grandmas are strong because they've lived long. No, we are strong because we've survived heartbreak that would destroy most people. And that night, that heartbreak finally overflowed. I slid down to the floor, my back against the cupboard, and for the first time in years, I cried like a woman who had lost herself. Not the soft tears I hide behind my glasses, but the kind of crying that steals your breath. The kind that makes you feel like your soul is tearing open. I whispered into my hands, voice trembling. Why am I the only one still fighting? The house didn't answer. It just echoed my loneliness. I cried until my throat burned. I cried until my vision blurred. I cried until my shaking finally turned into silence. And in that silence, a strange strength rose inside me, a strength I didn't know I still had. I wiped my tears, stood up slowly, and looked at myself in the window. My eyes were red, my face tired, my heart wounded, but I saw something else too, a spark. And I whispered, with a voice that didn't sound like mine anymore. Tomorrow, I stopped pretending. Tomorrow everything changes. Because, my child, a woman can survive lies. She can survive betrayal. She can survive loneliness. But the night she breaks, that night, she is reborn. My child, are you still here with me? Good. Because this chapter, this is the one that still shakes my soul. The morning after I broke down on that cold kitchen floor, something inside me felt different. Not stronger, no, not yet, but awake. I woke before the sun, before the birds, before the house itself had time to lie to me again. My joints ached, my eyes burned, and my heart felt like someone had been squeezing it all night. But I didn't cry this morning. No, I'd run out of tears the night before. I stood at the kitchen counter with a cup of tea that had already gone cold, staring at the faded wallpaper in front of me. That wallpaper had seen everything. Birthdays, arguments, secrets whispered through the dark, and pain I never wanted my children to inherit. And yet, they did. A quiet voice inside me whispered, "Today you do not stay silent." I held my phone in my hand. It felt heavier than ever before, as if it understood the weight of the decision I was about to make. But before I dialed anything, before I took that step, I needed something. I needed the truth. And not the kind of truth people give when they want to protect themselves. No, I needed the kind of truth that stings like salt on an open wound. So I walked down the hallway, my footsteps slow, careful, almost fearful. Every photo on the wall seemed to watch me. My babies when they were little, their school smiles, their laughter frozen in time. And then the newer photos where something darker hid in the background. I reached my daughter's room and pushed the door open, expecting her to be asleep. But she wasn't. She sat on the edge of her bed with her hands wrapped around her knees, her hair messy, her eyes swollen. And she looked up at me with a fear I'll never forget. "Mom, I didn't sleep," she whispered. "I know," I said softly. I sat beside her, my old hand gently covering her trembling one. For a moment we didn't talk. We just breathed together. Sometimes silence says everything words can't. Then she whispered, so quietly I almost missed it. "Mom, I think he's going to break me." My child, those words, they didn't just cut me. They split me open. All the years of being quiet, polite, patient, forgiving. All the years of swallowing pain. All the years of telling myself, maybe tomorrow will be better. They collapsed in that single moment. I turned her face toward mine, and I swear, she looked like the little girl who once clung to my skirt because she was scared of thunderstorms. "Baby," I whispered, no one gets to break you." She started crying then, but not the loud kind. No, this was the kind of crying that comes from a soul begging for help. And oh child, I listened. We talked for almost an hour. Her voice shaking, mine cracking. Both of us trying to be strong but failing. She told me things that made my blood run cold. Not just the slap. Not just the screaming. But the fear. The constant fear she lived with. The way he controlled her. The way he made her doubt her own worth. And worst of all, the way she thought she deserved it. No mother should ever hear her child say that. I held her tighter than I had in years and whispered, "Baby, tell me everything. I'm not going anywhere." And she did. When she finished, I felt my heart steady. Not soften. Steady. There comes a moment in every woman's life when her pain becomes her weapon. And that morning, mine sharpened. I stood up slowly, walked back into the kitchen and picked up my phone again. My fingers hovered over the screen. I could feel the weight of generations of women who stayed silent. My mother, my grandmother, her mother before her. But not me. Not this time. Not for my child. I dialed the number with hands that no longer shook. Before I pressed call, I closed my eyes and whispered, "This ends today." And then, I made the call. A deep voice answered, calm and professional. But my voice didn't sound like the grandma who bakes cookies and hums old songs. It sounded like a storm. "I need help," I said. "My daughter is not safe." He asked questions. I answered all of them. Every single one. My words were sharp, heavy, trembling, but true. By the time I ended that call, I felt something shift in the air. It was like the house itself exhaled. Like it had been holding its breath through years of secrets. My daughter walked in quietly. "Mom, what did you do?" she asked. I turned to her with a strength I didn't know I still had and said, "I did what I should have done years ago. I protected you." She covered her mouth with her hands, tears pouring out again. But this time, they weren't tears of fear. They were tears of release. "But my child, don't think the story ends here." Oh no. That call? It started something far bigger, far darker, far more dangerous than either of us expected. Because when a man who thinks he owns you realizes he's losing control, that's when he becomes most dangerous. And my son-in-law, he was about to show a side we had never seen before. My child, take a deep breath before you listen to this part. Because even after all these years, my hands still tremble when I remember what happened next. After I made that call, the whole house felt different. Quieter. Heavier. Like the walls knew a storm was crawling closer. My daughter sat at the kitchen table, twisting her fingers, eyes swollen from crying. I kept making tea we never drank. The clock kept ticking louder than usual. Tick-tick, as if each second was warning us. He's coming. I wanted to tell her everything would be okay. But I was too old and too honest to lie. Around noon she whispered, "Mom, what if he finds out? What if he comes back angry?" I looked at her with every ounce of strength I had left and said, "Then he'll meet a woman who is done being afraid." But deep inside, my heart was pounding like thunder. Hours passed. Long, heavy hours. Then somewhere near evening, the sound hit us. A car door. Loud. Hard. Angrier than footsteps. My daughter froze. Her breath caught in her throat. And my old bones. They knew. They knew it was him. My child, I'll never forget the look she gave me. A look of a woman terrified of the man she once loved. We heard the front door handle jiggle. Then a bang. Then another. Then, "Open the door." His voice cut through the house like a blade. My daughter jumped. I grabbed her hand and whispered, "Stay behind me. You hear me? Behind me." She shook her head, voice breaking. "Mom, he's furious. He's never sounded like that." I squeezed her hand harder. "I don't care. He won't touch you again." The banging grew louder. The kind of pounding that shakes the walls and the heart at the same time. He kept shouting her name. Each scream sharper, more desperate, unhinged. Then suddenly, silence. Complete silence. Sometimes silence is more terrifying than noise. I stepped forward, close enough to the door to hear his breathing on the other side. A low, dangerous voice slipped through the crack. "I know what you did." My daughter whimpered behind me. But I didn't move. I didn't blink. I didn't step back. I'd been quiet all my life. But not tonight. I spoke through the door, calm but firm. "You're not coming inside. Leave." He laughed. A chilling, empty laugh. Open the door, old woman. This is my house. My house? My house? The audacity. I planted my feet. This house belongs to me. And my daughter is safe here. You will not step inside. He banged the door so hard the frame rattled. My daughter screamed. I held my ground. Then he roared. What did she tell you? She's a liar. A manipulator. I felt a fire rise inside me. My daughter told the truth. Something you wouldn't recognize if it slapped you. A pause. Then a darker voice. I swear if you don't open this door, I'll. I cut him off. Whatever you think you'll do, remember one thing. I leaned closer. I made a call. Silence. Cold, heavy silence. Then he shouted. You called the police? Over nothing. I answered. Over everything. He and I stood on opposite sides of that door like two storms about to collide. He hissed. You think they'll believe you? An old woman? You think anyone will believe her? I have friends. I have connections. I could hear his breath shaking with rage. But mine? Mine was steady. The first steady breath I'd taken in years. She's not alone anymore, I said softly. And neither am I. He cursed. Loud, vulgar, hateful. Words no one should ever hear from a man claiming to love someone. Then suddenly, his footsteps moved away. Fast. My daughter rushed to me, whispering, Mom, he's leaving. Is he really going? I held her. But I didn't relax. Men like him don't leave quietly. They wait. They plan. They watch. I whispered back. He's not done. Not yet. Minutes later, headlights flashed through the window. Bright white, harsh. He wasn't leaving. He was sitting in his car, watching our house, waiting. My daughter broke down, voice shaking. Mom, I'm scared. What if he tries to break in? What if he has something? I turned her face to me. Baby, look into my eyes. She did. You are not alone. Not tonight. Not ever again. She fell into my arms, crying harder than before. But this time she wasn't crying from fear. She was crying from release. But then, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. 3 words that made my blood run cold. You'll regret this. My stomach dropped. My breath froze. My hand shook. He wasn't giving up. He wasn't backing down. He wasn't afraid of consequences. But I was not the same woman anymore. I took my daughter's hand and whispered, let him threaten. Let him watch. Let him think we're weak. I looked out the window straight toward his car and whispered, tomorrow, he'll learn who he's messing with. Because the man outside had no idea that the call I made wasn't the only call I planned to make. And he definitely didn't know what I was preparing. He thought he was the storm. He didn't know he had awakened one. My child, this chapter, this is where everything changes. This is the chapter where I stopped being the quiet grandmother who kept peace in the house, and became the woman who would burn the world down to protect her child. After that night, after the threats, after the shouting, after the chilling text message, sleep never touched my eyes. I sat in the living room with the lamp dimmed low, my daughter asleep on the couch beside me, and I watched the silhouette of his car sitting outside like a dark omen. I didn't blink once. Fear had left me. Only purpose remained. Just before dawn I stood up, my knees aching but my soul stronger than it had been in years. I walked to the window and saw headlights still pointed at our house. He hadn't left. He had waited the whole night, like a predator circling prey. But predators always forget one thing. Sometimes the prey grows teeth. I picked up my phone again, and this time, I didn't call for help. I called someone I had sworn never to involve. When he answered, his deep, tired voice said, "You haven't called me in years. Why today?" I swallowed hard before saying, "Because I need you, and because my daughter is in danger." There was a pause, a long, heavy one. Then he said, "Send me the address. I'm on my way." My child, let me tell you something. When a mother calls for help, the universe listens. Even people you thought you lost, somehow they come back. I hung up the phone and returned to my daughter. She stirred awake, eyes still swollen, hair messy from stress and fear. "Mom, is he still outside?" "Yes," I said softly. "But not for long." She sat up, heart racing. "Mom, what are we going to do?" And with a steadiness I did not recognize in myself, I said, "We are going to end this. Today." She trembled. "Mom, please be careful." I held her face gently. "Baby, I've spent my whole life being careful. And where did it get us?" Her lips trembled. Tears pooled again. I kissed her forehead and whispered, "This ends now." Not long after, a black SUV turned the corner and rolled to a slow stop in front of our house. My daughter frowned. "Who is that?" I looked at her with eyes heavy from the past and whispered, "Someone I should have called a long time ago." The driver's door opened. A tall man stepped out, older now, with more gray in his beard, but still carrying that silent power in his shoulders. My daughter stared at him, shocked. "Mom, is that?" "Yes," I whispered. It was my son, her older brother, the one she hadn't seen in 8 long years after a family rift none of us recovered from. He walked toward the house with a slow, deliberate stride, the kind that made even the earth beneath him pay attention. He stepped inside and without a single word, my daughter ran to him, collapsing into his arms. He held her like he had been waiting his entire life to protect her again. "Who hurt you?" he whispered, jaw tightening. She didn't answer with words. Her crying said it all. He looked at me and I nodded. Then his eyes turned toward the window, toward the man still sitting in that car. "Stay inside," he said. "I'll handle this." But I grabbed his arm. "No. We do this together." He stared at me for a long moment, seeing me not as the fragile mother he remembered, but as the lioness he had forgotten I could become. Then he nodded. We stepped outside together. My daughter watched from the window, hand over her mouth. The morning air was cold, silent, thick with tension. My son and I walked straight toward the parked car. My son-in-law jumped out, eyes wild, face twisted with rage and fear. "Oh, so now you're calling backup," he sneered. "You people don't know when to stay out of my marriage." I stepped forward, not blinking. "This is not a marriage. Not anymore. This is survival." He tried to approach me, but my son placed a hand on his chest and shoved him back. Hard. "You touched my sister?" My son growled, voice deeper than thunder. "You scared my mother? You threatened them." My son-in-law puffed his chest. "What are you gonna do? Hit me? That'll make you the criminal." I stepped between them, my heart pounding but my voice steady. "No one needs to touch you. You already did the damage yourself." His face twisted. "Old lady, you don't get it. She's my wife." And for the first time, I raised my voice. "Your wife? You don't own her. You don't get to break her. Not on my watch." Something shifted in his eyes. A realization. Fear. He stepped back, stumbling, looking around as if searching for a way out. But before he could say another word, 2 police cars turned the corner. Lights flashing. Sirens silent. Purpose loud. My son-in-law froze. His bravado evaporated. He looked at me, eyes wide. You really called them?" I nodded slowly. "No. Called them. And then I called someone who would make sure they listened." He looked confused, until a detective stepped out and approached me respectfully. "Ma'am," he said, "we received your statement and additional confirmation. We're here to proceed." My son-in-law's face drained. He stumbled as the officers approached him. "This is ridiculous. She's lying. They're all lying." The officers didn't listen. They placed his hands behind him. He screamed. He cursed. He begged. But no one came to save him. Not this time. As they were taking him away, he looked at my daughter through the window and shouted, "You'll regret this. Both of you." And I whispered just loud enough for him to hear, "The only thing we regret is not ending this sooner." He was shoved into the police car. The door slammed. The engine started. And then, he was gone. My daughter ran outside and fell into my arms, sobbing. "Mom, is it really over? Is it finally over?" I stroked her hair gently, my heart overflowing with relief and exhaustion. "Yes, baby," I whispered. "It's over. You're free." She held me tighter. My son wrapped his arms around both of us, and for the first time in many years, my family felt whole again. As the police cars disappeared into the distance, I looked up at the sky. Pale morning sky. soft and new. And I whispered to myself, I didn't just save her. I saved us all. My child. That day, I didn't just reclaim my strength. I reclaimed my family. And I learned something powerful. A woman doesn't become dangerous when she's angry. She becomes dangerous when she's finally done being silent.